Hey, it's Joe, and this is Logan. I've recruited my husband again for this video because today we're going to talk about what we read in May. I will put a link somewhere to the TBR video for that month. In May, I had him pick 8 books for me to try to read, and I picked 8 books for him to try to read, and then we made a little competition out of it. So if you just want to hear what we thought of the books, feel free to scroll until you see me holding up a book. But yeah, first of all, we're going to get into the points. And how we did, and I said we would crown a victor, so we'll do that. I guess before that, I want to say thank you very much. I've passed 1,000 subscribers recently, and that's fantastic. So if you're a new one, thank you so much. If you've been a long-time subscriber, thank you so much. It's just really exciting. So anyway, so we did points for how many pages you read, like a point for 50 pages, and then a point for each book you finished, and then we were going to do a point for every 90 minutes of audio if you listen to a book, but that turned out you got a lot more points for listening than for reading, so we changed it to for 2 hours. You got a point. So for pages, I got 39 points. He got 33. For books finished, I did start all 8, but I only finished 6 of them, so I got 6 points. He started all 8 and he finished 7 of them, so you got 7 points. And then for hours listened, I got 8 points. I listened to one book and I started the audio of another. He listened to The Stand and The Eye of the World.
Eye of the World, yeah.
He got 39 points for listening to audiobooks. So far and away, he ended up with 79 points and I had 53. So I didn't make a crown or a belt, but I made a little ribbon. So
champion.
Does that look okay? So, he's very proud of himself. Anyway, so he's the official victor. Maybe we'll do this again sometime, and I can take it back from him or something.
You pretty much handed it to me when you gave me The Stand.
Yeah, you were not excited about that. You were like, oh, shoot, I don't really want to read this right now. And I was like, the audio.
Yeah, the audio, and since we share the Amazon, I could listen to her audiobooks. And
you really like the quality of you like the narration.
Yeah,
so
the narration
that
was great.
helped. And I listened to quite a bit of it with him. It was a really fun experience. I'm glad we ended up doing that.
Yeah.
And you liked that one. But anyway, I started off, I just have to say, I started off really well. The first week, I got through 3 books. And then in the next 2 weeks, I got through 2 books. And the last week, I read literally nothing. So, we know how this...
You put all the books that you wanted to read first. You gotta space it out a little bit.
Not really. That's not exactly how it happened. I thought I was going to love Leviathan Wakes, and I saved that one.
That's true.
And I was not excited for The Slow Regard of Silent Things, and I read that in the first week. So, I tried. I don't know. Anyway, he's the victor, and now we're going to talk about what we thought of the books.
I'm not named Victor at all. You can call me
Logan?
You can call me Champion.
Jesus. Okay, so real quick, I'm going to start with the 2 that I didn't finish just to get them out of the way. First of all, I have Warbreaker. This was the one that I got the audio of and didn't finish. This is the first time I've ever returned an audiobook to Audible. The narration didn't really work for me, and I had trouble focusing on what was going on. I think by that point, I just had been reading a lot of stuff I don't normally read, a lot of fantasy and sci-fi. Besides this month, as in May, I recently read the first couple Song of Ice and Fire books, which is kind of out of my wheelhouse. And it was just too much, and I think I just got to a point where I just kind of gave up. So that one didn't happen. The other one I didn't get to is Parable of the Sower, and I really, really like Octavia Butler's writing. I've heard fantastic things about this book. I think that I could really like it. It's a dystopian that is quite bleak, and I was not in the best mindset, and I read the first 25 or 50 pages, I don't even remember, but in that amount of time, I had, 7-year-old girls walking naked down the street with blood running between their thighs and nobody helping her, and just all sorts of things that I was, people committing suicide. I was not in a mindset to read it right now. I think it probably is a really timely book if you want to read something. It's written by a Black author, and it's very much dystopian. I don't know how much racial commentary there is, or commentary of racism there is in it. But I feel like there was some of that in the other book first that I did read. Yeah. Okay, but not a ton.
Not a ton. A lot of it is dystopian future that is disturbingly close to
what's going
being
on
realistic and what's going on now.
Yeah.
It's a little scary. Some of it's almost like it was written in 92 or 3, and some of it predicting things is, it's like, did she have a time machine? Like,
Yeah. It's sad, and I was not in a mindset for something depressing. That probably sounds weird given the kind of books that I did really enjoy this month, but there is a difference to me, the like bleak and depressing versus like horror thriller. So those are the two I didn't finish. The first one I did was Endless Night by Richard Lehman. I did talk about this in another video. It became like an instant favorite of mine. It's told mostly from the point of view of the 16-year-old girl in third person. The 16-year-old girl who's spending the night with a friend, and this group of crazy killers breaks in to massacre the family. She escapes with her friend's younger brother. So it's primarily told third person through her point of view, but a good chunk of the book is told first person from one of the killers, like talking into a tape recorder. He was left behind to clean up the two survivors, to find them and take care of them. And it was just like start to finish, 400 plus pages of just fun, action, tense, like fast paced, crazy stuff going on.
You went through it in like less than a week, didn't you?
Very much, yeah. A couple days. It was fantastic. But like I said, I talked about this in my 10 favorite non-Stephen King horror books video, I think is something like that. Anyway, I talked about this already. I'll put it down. It was 5 stars. Highly recommend this. The second one that I finished was Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, and I listened to the audio of this one. I really enjoyed the audio. If you're interested, if you're also picky about narrators, she really worked for me. She did some of the like random voices really, really well. This is a gothic thriller. This was written in the 1930s. So this has an unnamed main character who has recently, or toward the beginning of the book, she marries a widower and goes to live in the like manor, huge estate place, whatever that he's from. My terms aren't great. And his deceased first wife, really just like there's a shadow of her over the whole estate. For most of this book, like maybe 2/3 of it, I was really like appreciating what it did. It was very much about a young woman who was just unsure of herself. Everything she did, she compared it to how Rebecca, the first Mrs. De Winter, I think is her name, to her husband's first wife, and how would she have done things? Is everybody thinking that she's not as good? She was essentially a servant when she met this man, and it's a very different type of environment, a very different class of people, I guess, what she was before she married him into what she's trying to get used to living. And it was just very much about insecurity, and it was very, very relatable, and it was quite a bit depressing, but I was really enjoying it. I was to the point where I didn't think I would really want to read more by her necessarily, but that I was really appreciating what this book did. And then in the last like third, it just like turned into this fun, thrilling mystery that I just really, really, really was enjoying. I listened to it really quickly at the end. I think I got through the last half of it in a couple of days because I was just like...
Yeah, you definitely started slow, it seemed like. On that
I did, and it took off for me. I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I would quite like to read some more Daphne du Maurier, but I think I will try to stick to the audiobooks because that was really good. The third book that I finished right away was The Slow Regard of Silent Things by Patrick Rothfuss. This is technically part of a series. Is it called The Name of the Wind? Is the series name that?
Kingkiller Chronicles.
Kingkiller Chronicles. The first book is The Name of the Wind. And I haven't read those books. I don't know that I would necessarily recommend this if you haven't read those. This is about a young woman, I don't know what age she was, who lives in this like labyrinthine basement area under some school or something, and she applies attributes and desires to inanimate objects. She like spends her days going around and, well, this broom is clearly not happy here. He would much rather be laying horizontal on this shelf next to the button jar or something like that. She was really interesting. Those aren't actual examples, but they're, I mean,
pretty
it's on
darn
par.
close, yeah.
And it's all like she's distracted by somebody who it's never named and is never explained who's going to come on this other day, whatever. I don't know. Anyway, so she's clearly not, like, normal mentally. What I kind of struggled with, and why I don't know if I'd recommend it if you haven't read the series, is there was a lot that was referenced and mentioned that I don't know. I feel like a good chunk of it I should have known from reading other books in the series, and I'm sure that some of it I shouldn't have known because it was just her being a very unique individual who I'm guessing got some sort of... injury that caused her to act the way that she is.
It's never even explained in the book series, but yeah.
But anyway, it was kind of distracting, like, because I never knew when I was not supposed to know something or when I should know something. But it's like 150 pages, and it took me a few tries to get into it. But really what I needed to do was just sit down and read the whole thing through. I finally did that for the last 100 pages, and I really actually enjoyed myself. I ended up giving it 4 stars. It's written really interestingly, and like I said, it's short enough. I would just recommend if you can devote the time to sit and try to read it through, or at least, just read it in 2 sittings or something, 2 or 3 sittings. I was pleasantly surprised with this, as much as I complained at the beginning, and I'm sorry.
I'm pretty sure when I read it in 1 sitting.
Yeah. I think it reads best that way.
Yeah.
It's too confusing and too much going on to try to break it up.
The way it's written, it takes a minute to kind of get into the flow and the rhythm of what it's written, but once you're into it, it's almost poetic or lyrical, because there's kind of a rhythm and flow to how it...
Yeah, I think it's something that's harder to get into than it is to keep reading. I think that's a good way to describe the writing.
Yeah.
The next book that I finished was Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, and I did a full review of this one. I think that should be the last video that came up before this one, so I'll just put a link to that. This surprised the heck out of me. It's like a dark paranormal mystery book, and I really, really enjoyed it. Like a 4.5-star read for me. So I'm just gonna to keep the length of this video from getting too out of hand. I'll just say, highly recommend. Check out my review if you want to see more of my thoughts on it.
I'm excited to get to that one.
Yeah, I hope you like it. The next book that I finished was Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey. I almost forgot his name for a second.
It's actually 2 guys.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's a pen name for 2 guys that wrote it together.
Intrigue.
They write the whole Expanse series together.
Intrigue. Anyway, this is a hard sci-fi. It takes place far in the future. People live primarily on Earth, Mars, in like asteroid belts. Is that what the belters?
Yeah, the asteroid belt.
There's one asteroid belt they live on. Anyway, I was actually really quite looking forward to this. Like, this had been on my radar. I was interested in reading it before. And I've heard some great things about it. I struggle with hard sci-fi sometimes. Like, I really prefer character-driven stories, and a lot of hard sci-fi doesn't seem as character-driven. There were a lot of characters and some themes and some, like, interesting plot that I really enjoyed with this, but the reading experience I struggled with so much, and I feel bad because it's so many people's, like, it's such a favorite of so many people, including you. You've really enjoyed the first couple books. But yeah, there's stuff I enjoyed about it, but the entire thing, there was never a point like with Rebecca where finally it clicked for me, or like with a Game of Thrones where, after so many hundreds of pages, it finally, like, I got into it. That just didn't happen with this one. So fortunately, I won't be continuing. I gave it 3 stars.
A little too much science for you? Like,
sort of, yeah. I mean, I enjoy interesting science, but I just, like, I only needed so much commentary on, like, the crash couches and G's and whatever. I wanted to understand why people do the things that they do more than like hearing about the things that people do and then getting details on the airlock system or something.
Yeah.
Wasn't for me.
What about vomit zombies?
Oh, but vomit zombies. There are vomit zombies. Those are fun. They're one of the things that I quite enjoyed about it. Like, there were lots of components that I enjoyed. I don't know if I've ever finished a 500+ page book that I didn't enjoy myself nearly as much. Does that make sense? Like, I almost certainly would have DNF'd it if I weren't reading it for this reason. And finally, the last book that I finished was Alien Echo by Mira Grant. This was so much. It is a young adult, which I'm not a huge fan of. It did have some young adult tropes and some sort of motives and storylines that I didn't relate to. Like, even when I was a young adult, I would never have behaved the way these kids did. I feel like it's more like a dream of what a teenager might be, this, when I was 14, I might have dreamed of taking out my parents' motor vehicle. I don't remember exactly what it is. What is it? Was it the
An
ATV?
ATV, yeah.
Anyway, like that, I just never would have done that, like, ever in my life. And so some of it was a little bit unrelatable, but that doesn't matter. I really enjoyed myself. This had so many of the things from the original movie or 2 in the franchise, particularly, that it was just lovely, but it's a wholly unique story. It's this like 16-year-old girl whose parents are xenobiologists. She has a twin sister who has a lot of medical issues, and they've just come to a new colony that like they're hired to help sort of maps a lot of the wildlife ecosystem in the area. So she's new there, and she's used to traveling and all this stuff. And then, eventually the crazy evil, these guys show up at some point in the book, because that's what the series is about. But yeah, I don't want to spoil things, but it surprised me how many elements it pulled in that are from the franchise that I was just blown away by.
The one particular element I saw coming, and
I didn't even think. I was
like, of course this is happening. This is an alien book.
Yes, but I didn't even think about it. Like, yeah, it's definitely a theme in lots of alien movies. Yep. Or a topic or a component, or you know what I mean? It's
picked
like
up
different.
On it right away when I read it.
I was too busy just enjoying the story to think about it. So I'll just put it like that. I think I gave it 4 stars. You only gave it 3 stars when you read it, right?
Yeah.
The month before I did.
I didn't think I could have used a little more action and a little less character. Less
character. I feel like it had a lot of action. I feel like I could have used a little less drama. Yeah. But it had some really interesting, like, plant life and grass. Like, I've never been so interested in grass in my life.
Yeah, but I think the emotional drama kind of outweighed some of the physical drama.
Yeah, definitely.
And that would have been my complaint. I wanted more physical drama, like action drama, and less emotional drama.
I feel like some of the emotional drama more toward the climax. Yeah. Like, I could have used more of, because it was so intense. Like, it hit me. I'm pretty sure I cried a couple of times. Like, it really hit me. But some of the more childish drama, or, juvenile, or just like, I don't know. Not necessarily childish, because they are real problems.
Yeah, but like, a little bit more high school drama type stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I really enjoy Mira Grant. If you're a person who enjoys author interviews like I do, she's a fun one to watch, especially if you're science-minded, or I wouldn't call myself science-minded, but just if you enjoy listening to people who are science-minded, who are like knowledgeable and excited about things. Poop Pills, quite interesting.
Oh, yeah. All right, on to the champion.
So you finished 7 books. Which was the first that you finished?
First that I started and finished was Harry Potter. The Sorcerer's Stone, Philosopher's Stone, whatever.
Yep, that one.
Anyway.
This one. Oh.
It was fine.
It was fine. Can I interrupt you really quick?
Okay.
Sorry. Somebody asked to be introduced to the dogs. Come here. This is one of them. Can we turn so you can see?
Ziva, over here.
Hey. Hi. You can't hardly see her. Anyway, this is Ziva. This is one of my puppies. They're both about 10 years old. The other one is a Lab Golden Retriever mix, and she likes fetches.
She's laying right here.
She's literally right there. But yeah, she likes fetches more than cuddles and pets. So we don't see her in videos as much unless I'm sitting on the floor. Hey, Malin. Do you want to be introduced too? It's too dark. Say hi, pretty girl. I'm old and arthritic and kind of want a nap right now. But I'm Malin, in case you're curious. Hey, beautiful. Hi.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it was okay.
It was fine.
It was fine.
I mean, I'm not the target demographic.
Clearly.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was hard because I've seen the movies, and at least for this first book, it's followed, like, the movie follows the plot of the book very closely. So it's like I knew everything that was going to happen. And so
I could see that.
But it was still good. There's definitely more detail in the book, and more a little bit more character work and stuff. So that was enjoyable to kind of get inside the characters a little bit more. But it's fine.
Do you like it enough to continue?
Yeah, I'll definitely continue.
Okay, good. And they do deviate more, and there's a lot more content in the books versus movies the more you get into. Obviously, by book 4, they're in the, like, 700-page range or something, so.
Yeah, I'll definitely continue.
Cool. Thanks for humoring me and reading that one.
Yeah. Second one I read was Wilder Girls by Rory Power. And this was great. You were right. Wasn't quite as good as I was hoping, but overall, no complaints at all, really, for me. It was pretty weird. had some pretty graphic and disturbing things going on, and just the plot and the idea behind it in general I thought was really good.
So, like, it's an all-girls school on an island where some sort of crazy, like, plague is broken out there.
And
so illness, not plague.
They're quarantined, and they're only getting so many supplies from the shore. It's a little bit survivalist then, too, because there's just barely enough supplies to go around.
Not really enough, either.
Yeah, not really enough. And this was also a young adult, and there was definitely some of those tropes and some of that kind of emotional drama, which I actually enjoyed more in this one than I did in Alien Echo when I read it. I thought the emotional drama in this one was really good. The one complaint that I've heard about it a lot is that people don't like the ending.
Yeah.
Because it just kind of ends.
Did you think of it?
Yeah, I liked the ending. I feel like the book was more about the emotional drama than the actual plot.
Yeah.
For a lot of it.
Yeah.
And I feel like there was emotional and character resolution at the end, if not actual like plot line complete, tightly sealed resolution.
And this is a story that I don't think would have that. Yeah. Like in real life. I mean, I know it's not something
that would be able to be just wrapped up and finished.
Yeah, I don't think it would have been believable if it were wrapped up really neatly.
But I thought as far as characters and that kind of emotional journey that especially the main character is on, I feel like had resolution.
Yeah.
So it was good.
Would you rate it?
I might have only given it 3, but I think technically at least 3.5. Gwendy's Magic Feather. This was super quick. It's only like, maybe 300 pages, but it's huge font. Yeah, pictures on every other. The chapters have pictures and could be condensed to about 100 pages.
I think so.
And this was okay. I feel like there's just like a whole bunch of different storylines going on all at the same time, and none of them really got enough attention to really grab me.
Yeah. So this is a sequel to Gwendy's Button Box, which was co-written with Richard Gismar and Stephen King, and it takes place in the Stephen King universe.
Castle
Rock. And did you, particularly RF makes an appearance in this?
Yeah.
And what did you think of that?
He barely makes an appearance, and
Is it weird to you? Because it was kind of lame to me.
I didn't think it was super weird, but it was kind of lame, and I don't know. I kind of thought the whole book just
didn't
go anywhere. There was too many plot lines that didn't really resolute, and I mean, it read fast, and some of the anecdotal stuff just, was enjoyable.
Yeah.
But it didn't really go anywhere.
If your political inclinations are aligned with Richard Gismar, I think you would enjoy it more than not. Like, I did appreciate the political commentary in it. If
the main character, Gwendy, is now a congresswoman.
Yes.
So.
Which was fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. Would you rate it 3?
This one was 3 or maybe 2. I can't remember.
Yeah. We were both really excited for that one, so it's kind of a bummer we both were on the fence. At least it was quick and easy.
I think it was about at that point that I finished The Stand on audio.
Oh, okay.
And that was awesome.
Put a picture. Right.
I agree with you a little bit that the first 3/4 or so is definitely more enjoyable than the last part. But I feel like even when they got to Colorado, I guess if you haven't read the book or don't know anything about it, there's a plague. So like 99% of the population, 97% of the population dies from this super flu.
Mm-hmm. And the rest is immune.
Yeah,
not like they live through it, but they're immune.
Yeah, the rest is immune, and then they're kind of almost supernaturally being divided into 2 sides, kind of good and evil sides. And one of the sides gathers in Colorado towards the end, and I was still pretty engaged when it got to that point. I know that's when you started not enjoying it as much.
Some of the like forming of the
committees
society.
And the society. I enjoyed the forming of the society, but but before that, when it's just individual characters or groups and how they are dealing with what is happening, like early on and as it's happening and as it's, and then as they're traveling across the country is just awesome.
Mm-hmm. So, do you have a favorite character?
Oh, I feel like, I've seen the TV miniseries, which kind of clouds my view a little bit.
Oh, okay.
But I feel like Larry Underwood, the singer, I feel like he is so much more nuanced in the book.
Yeah.
Like he struggles with his, whether he thinks he's a good person or not, and his own identity. And I feel like that part of the book was excellent. His struggle to, how he feels about himself and how he, he might be my favorite character. It was such a weird juxtaposition to his character in the TV miniseries.
Yeah.
Because there's not much nuance to that character in the miniseries from the early 90s.
Yeah, not as much. I feel like they tried to convey some of that maybe. But yeah, there's just enough little storylines that were cut out and just him talking with himself sort of.
Yeah.
Trying to work through things. I'm really excited. They have dropped some photos for the new CBS All Access limited series of The Stand. It has like some awesome actors in it, and I really have high hopes.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's good. I'm going to be severely let down if it turns out to be not good.
Yeah.
Moving on, I read A Planet for Rent by Yas.
Yup.
And this was great. It's pretty much a collection of short stories in the future after basically Earth has been turned into a tourist trap for extraterrestrial societies, and most of the population is basically indentured servants or just completely poverty stricken. Mm-hmm. And there's obviously this author is a Cuban author, and it's obviously a lot of it is commentary on communist Cuba and the world at large, and that was really interesting to read.
It does have some really interesting like aliens and sports and art and stuff in it, but most of the storyline is about the things that these humans are doing, like the lengths they're willing to go to get off of Earth.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's definitely meant to parallel, the conditions in certain areas of the world and what people are willing to do to get out of them because it's so oppressive and so hard to live.
So, those themes were enjoyable and interesting to read about, but also, like you were saying, reading about the different aliens and their social structure and culture and the sports and the art and all that was super interesting. This was highly enjoyable. I think I gave it 5 stars. It was at least 4.
Yeah. I think you were a little taken aback by, if I remember right, by some of the graphic content and some of the depressing content of it.
But I didn't feel like it was dark, but it didn't get that depressing for me. There's actually a lot of dark humor in it, which kind of gives a little brevity when it gets too disturbing. There's some dark humor that kind of breaks the tension.
Yeah.
So, got Full Moon by Jim Butcher. It's book 2 in the Dresden Files, which at this point it's still just kind of pulp, detective noir type mysteries, somewhat predictable but still really fun. Quick read. The main character, Dresden, is a wizard and private detective, basically, for hire in Chicago. And he works with the police department on special investigations. And this one, if you can't tell from the title, Full Moon, it's got werewolves. But
have you read a lot of werewolf stuff?
No.
Have you read any other pulpy, campy, werewolfy thing?
Just Cycle of the Werewolf by Stephen King, which was not good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this was really fun. About along the same lines as the first one. It's a pretty straightforward story, somewhat predictable. But I'm excited to keep going because I heard the world, the overall world, grows and grows and grows as the series continues, and I could definitely start to feel that already a little bit here in the second book.
Sweet.
So I'm pretty interested in where that's going to go.
It's ongoing, right, the series?
Yes, it's still ongoing. There's actually 2 coming out this year. One's out and another one coming out later.
That's a good author to be a fan of.
Usually it's not that fast,
Yeah.
but he wrote them both at the same time, and it was going to be one book, I think. And then he ended up, no, I got to rewrite this and make it 2, and so.
But do you know how long?
Close to 20, if not 20.
Whoa! Do you? He's written other series too, I think. Are
Yeah.
they in the same universe? Do you know?
No, the other series that I know of, the Codex Alera, is high fantasy.
Okay.
Not like an urban fantasy like this. It's more of a high fantasy.
Cool.
And speaking of high fantasy, epics, I finally started The Wheel of Time with The Eye of the World. This one I did do the audiobook. It took me a little bit to get used to start with, but once I got into it, I really enjoyed the narrator and his voices. It made it a little easier to keep characters straight because he definitely gives a specific voice to every character.
That's really nice.
And it was actually 2 narrators. It was a guy, Michael Kramer, and I can't remember the lady's name, but the lady only narrated a couple of chapters that were from a female perspective. I'm actually already into the book 2 audio, and there's a lot more female perspective in that one so far, so that's
Do you like
interesting.
Both the narrators? Are both very good?
Yeah, both the narrators are great.
Cool.
But basically, this first book is kind of a retelling of Lord of the Rings, and it's meant to be so. Only it's a little bit more, supposed to be a little bit more gritty and realistic, was I think what Robert Jordan was going for. And it was great. Definitely, he's got like the typical fantasy tropes and stuff, but they're done right. So it was great.
Sweet.
Definitely going to keep going. I think there's 10 or so total in this series, and yeah.
And your favorite, Mr. Brandon Sanderson, is this a series that he finished?
Yeah. Brandon Sanderson finished it because Robert Jordan passed away with a couple of books left, I think.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting. I've not read a lot of stuff that's been continued on by another author. I think that'll be interesting when you get to that point.
And I've heard nothing but fantastic things with him taking over. Like, he definitely did it justice. So I'm excited. Now, probably take me a year and a half to get through all 10, if not more.
Are you just gonna?
I might just keep going.
Cool.
I don't know.
Sweet.
We'll see.
And then he did the last book was Poppy War, Poppy War.
War? The Poppy War, which I did not get finished. But I did start it. I was maybe 20, 30 pages in at the end of the month. I hadn't hardly started, but now about...
Just as a note, whatever.
About 200 pages in. This is really good. It's high fantasy with like Chinese history and culture as the base. So it's not the typical Western European fantasy. Fantasy is branching out a lot more, popular fantasy and that kind of different cultures and things, and
Are you enjoying that?
It's very exciting. I think it's great.
Sweet. So. Anyway, those are the 6 books I read, 7 books he read. Our experiment with picking each other's TBRs, and to everybody who said you thought I would win, thank you for the vote of confidence.
It's
clearly
because you gave me the stand. I mean, you handed it to me when you gave me the stand.
I wanted you to read it that bad. I was willing.
Sacrifice.
Sacrifice. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you enjoyed this, if you'd like to see more similar things like this in the future, or if you have read any of these books and what you thought of them. And I will talk to you again soon. Bye.
Don't stab me. Well, at least you won't see the blood. It's a red shirt.